Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this 3D model. This is my preferred approach when it comes to creating 3D art. I'm going to show you how I made this 3D totem. I'm going to go over prototyping, retopology, texturing, even a little bit of animation and visual effects, and a little bit over the scripting, how I actually did the functionality for it. So let's just go on. In terms of prototyping, I was blocking out a little bit of the stuff in Unity before that. I think this is super useful when you're starting off and you think of an idea, okay, this is gonna look awesome, but I really try not to jump straight into ZBrush because I know that I have done mistakes in the past where you would create something beautiful, but then it doesn't really match the space or the proportions, or maybe I could have done it better. So it's always useful for me, at least, to create a cylinder or a box and play around with the shape. Think about how the camera angle is positioned in your game. Try to put your object, even though simple right now, but put it in the game and see how it works. If there's something that you can design better, let's say the camera is from above, okay, I'm gonna put these details here. I want to make sure these contrast between these colors is noticeable from this kind of perspective, and you're already going to start to imagine how the final product is going to look, how the final asset is going to look in this context. So in the beginning, when I was playing around with the different position of the totems, I knew that I wanted to fill up the empty space around the characters, right? Around my main character, which on the left side, it has a little bit of empty space, and then around him also. So in this GIF, I created 4 different variations. One of them was static, like your usual totems, which would stay on top of each other, and they would be triggered and moving and glowing or whatever. But I thought that this might be a little bit too static. I wanted them to be more dynamic, more brought to life. So I thought, okay, what if we do floating totems, and they're just going to be floating around the character, being triggered every now and again. It would bring the battle, I think, more to life, and it will be more interesting to look at. So I said, okay, I like this idea, let's give it a try. I did a few sketches on my notebook, doing with pen, pencil, just to see what kind of shapes work. And I stopped on a cylindrical shape, which I think a totem makes sense to be cylindrical, right? But I still wanted them to have a little bit of different faces because they do have different functionality in the game, right? Their design purpose is different, and I want the player, when they're playing the game, I want them to see this face and connect it to the design functionality and to distinguish them quickly. Okay, this one does this one does this. So I just had a little guidance in my first sketches. And then I moved on to ZBrush, where I'm a bit more comfortable to play around with stuff and with concepts. So inside ZBrush, I started to play around with different faces. I wanted to make all of the totems at the same time, so I can balance the amount of detail that all of them have, the amount of surface interesting stuff that they have in terms of silhouette, in terms of stylization, or even in terms of caricature, how exaggerated their forms are. So I think in the end it turned out okay. I am also pressured on time. I'm trying to not spend too many days on each asset. I'm doing this alone, so I need to be quite efficient with my time. So once I had some stuff that I really liked, I decided, okay, this is good enough. Let's import it in Unity. This was another important step that I think a lot of people miss out, that I like to see how stuff look, even if they're just like decimated, just high poly. I throw it into Unity and I want to see how it looks. Okay, this head is too big, make it smaller. This shape is not clear what it is. Maybe I can adjust it. Actually, I think it happened that one of the shields was too big and it was blocking the face of the totem. So I said, okay, I'm gonna redo that. And this was good because I did it before the retopology, right? So it really improved it. the process. And then after the sculpting, I did the retopology once I was happy with the silhouette and everything. The retopology, everything was, more or less efficient. I didn't go for too low poly. I wanted them to look nice and round. And then unwrapping, if you want to see some information on retopology and unwrapping, you can check out my other videos. Pretty straightforward stuff. What is important is that I wanted all of them to be on the same texture and using the same material, because that's a bit more, it's just better for performance, right? To share the same texture and materials for many assets. And since they are the same type of asset, I thought, okay, they're gonna have similar textures, similar kind of surfaces and treatments. So I'm gonna put them together. Then moving on to substance, there was quite a bit of exploration there. I think this is one of my weak spots where I don't know exactly where I'm going in the beginning. I'm not very good at concepting or creating the color schemes right away. Just like drawing in 2D, I struggle with that a little bit, right? So in substance is where I really experiment with stuff. I slap on different materials, different colors, and I try to balance out the different color schemes. And the other cool thing is that in substance, when I'm seeing all the 4 different totems, then I can create them in a coherent way so that all 4 match the same style, and obviously matching the style of the game as well. And after I did 2 of the totems, I wanted to try them in Unity to see if all of the values are correct and if they are blending nicely with the environment but still noticeable, still bringing out interesting colors. And I tested 2 of the totems. They looked okay. Maybe I think there was a little bit too dark, so I improved a little bit the ambient occlusion and some of the dark spots, and then I moved on. I wanted also to see how the materials would look like and how they would blend in with the rest of the art. After the texture was done, then I had to figure out how I'm gonna make them glow. The idea was that they're gonna have a triggered effect when they are, when something happens during the game, like in a turn or a card gets played, they get triggered. Then once they get triggered a few times, they get charged. Once they are charged, you can actually click on them to trigger the ultimate. It's a bit messy, but bear with me. In the beginning, I thought, okay, let's try materials. What am I gonna do? The easiest way was to do 2 different textures, one without a glow, one with a glow, and I would just flip the different textures, right, in the material. That's easy to do, but it's not gonna be smooth. There's just gonna be like flip. I would prefer if I could do the control of alpha, or I could gradually transition between the glow and and not glowing part. So what I realized that I could use an emission map, and this emission map, well, this is just a diffuse right now, and in the beginning I had a diffuse which had the glow, but then I said, okay, what if we just put a emissive map on top of the diffuse and I would just control it during runtime and I would blend it in over. And I said, okay, let's try. And this is the result. It actually worked out okay. And I have the glow for all the different, you can see, I think here, I have the glow for all the different totems all together. But this was not enough. I needed more functionality. So I'm gonna stack on top of that glow, I'm gonna stack particle effects, right? But anyways, let me just go over the how I did the actual code for that. Well, code, it's a Playmaker scripting, and Playmaker didn't have a kind of like this easy way of accessing the script, not the script, but the shader. In order to change this color, I would have to go inside the material, find the right keyword, and then control it over time. And I was like, well, this is a bit out of my capabilities. Like, I don't know how to do these things. But then after a little bit of searching, I found this, which one was it? I think visuals, yeah. So I was actually setting the material color. Every time that the totem gets triggered, I set the material color, but the original, let me just find it. The original Playmaker action had this underscore color. So it would change this color here. And this is not serving me because look what this one is doing. It's overriding the whole diffuse texture, the albedo. So what I needed was a different color. And how I did that was you can actually click on edit shader here and you can see all the names of the different properties. So I found this one, which is called underscore emission color. And I said, okay, maybe if I change the name, it could access that. This is the first time that I was doing this action, okay? So I had no idea how I want to access this. I tried this emission color and then it worked. I was like, wow, this like finally worked out. And I was so happy because it was the smooth transition that I wanted to have, you know, this like pulsating of the glow effect. And this was just the beginning. This was just the materials. This was just the glow effect, right? But I needed more. I wanted the game is already a bit static. It's you know, just turn this. It's not an action-based game. Not so many random events happen. So I need to use every now and again. I have to have interesting particle effects to make it cool. You know, like kind of surprise the player. So the first one that I made was this one. Every time that the totem gets triggered, I would have this kind of glow, right? It's the same prefab, which is just placed in all the different eyes of the totem. And once it gets triggered, it's just like glowing. It took a little bit of time to figure out. I'm not that good at particle effects. This was probably one of my most ambitious particle effects systems, but I think in the end it worked out okay. So what I wanted to show to the player was this totem got triggered, or like it's building up to something, you know, something happened. There's a connection from the design point of view. Once it's charged, then I show this effect, which is constant glow, and I think this is gonna communicate to the player that they can click on it. It's like fully charged, ready to release its energy. You know, it has something inside of it and can help you. Let me just play one more time. Yeah, it's just like concentration of energy and just like pulsating. I hope that the players understand that. If not, then I will have to adjust it. And then once this is charged, when you click on it, it would trigger this kind of effect, this kind of explosion. This particle effect took me a while. It has like maybe too many materials and too many different particle systems. I hope that it's not too performance heavy, but I think it was worth it because it's also not a very common event, so I want it to be quite cool, you know? And we'll see how players receive it and what is the general feedback. So the way this works is that every time that you click on a purple card, which are the evil cards, the totem would get triggered and you'll have this little particle effect over here, which connects with this particle effect here, and then it stacks up onto the special effects or the status effects over here. And then once you have triggered the totem 5 times, then the totem will become charged. Let me just click it a few times more. When the totem is charged, then it will play the bigger particle effect, which is bringing back the energy and showing this glow, which this glow is hopefully should communicate to the players that there is energy stored right now and it's ready to be released. As you can see, there is also the glowing of the eyes working, and then once I click on them, it would release all the energy and double the poison over here. And that's basically it. Like, it took a few days to create all the different aspects, you know, art and particle effects, but I think the final result is really worth it. It's hard to maintain this kind of quality for a whole game, especially if I'm working alone. This takes a lot of time, so I need to be really prioritizing which thing is really worth it, which one I can spend a bit more time on. But hopefully on the long run it pays out and people really like this kind of surprising effects. By the way, thank you for watching the video. I know that this way of editing is not great. I don't have a lot of time to edit the videos after, so I'm trying to be as quick as possible just to hopefully bring value, something you can learn from these videos. And if you have any feedback about the way I record or the way I do things, like even in Unity, I'll be really happy to hear your thoughts. So thank you very much.